Welcome to our trading and training series. We're going to be looking at a futures ES 14-point move that came off a set that was preceded by a cloud twist on the right side, followed by a flag pattern right back to our cloud level to instigate the trigger for the setup. This video is brought to you by Active Trader Setups Trading Package, a day trader setups company. Be sure to subscribe to our channel while you're here. It's YouTube at daytradersetups.com. This is part of our trading and training series, chart and indicator setups, and we're looking at an ES setup that set up yesterday. First of all, we're taking a look at the bigger picture. This is what we ended up trading from here all the way down to this area here. This took place after our session. This was what was going on in a bigger trend chart right in this area. It was already going into a downtrend. It had come down and tested support and bounced back and then was continuing to fade away. A little closer look at the overall chart that we had the trade set up on. We started looking right after this twist occurred, which was back in this area as this set up right in here. And this is the longer trend chart. It's like the difference in looking at a 5-minute chart and a 60-minute chart, going back further in history, creating a bigger support line that it had tested there. On the bigger trend chart, looking back to the left a little bit, we had broke down through our trend shift pivot zone, had turned it from green to red, indicating we were going to start a signal for a downturn watch. And we went into this support area. Sometimes it just breaks through, and if it has momentum or gains momentum, continues on down. But it did hold the support line of this bigger trend cloud. It's a longer trend cloud. We try to label them where they're easy to pick up on the difference in one cloud to the next. And you get an anticipated bounce that we teach back into our red line. This is our smaller trend chart. It's running off of 6-tick ES signals. And it also has a VPOX plotted for 10 days on it. That's what these orange lines are, the white dotted lines as well. The white lines go back 3 days, and then we go back even further and continue to bring the VPOX forward for 10 days on our charts. And they are good inflection points or targets. We're breaking down our cloud here. This is what we teach. We're turning over here on this first part of this setup. And we've also seen this other going on the bigger trend chart. First, I want to bring your attention to what's called the twist on a cloud. The upper band of the blue band crosses the yellow band, and the shift of the indication of movement to come first appears. And that's what was going on over here. If this does continue to develop, it will be the opposite of what you see back here. We don't want to chase this trade because it can reverse at any point in time. It could just flush to the downside. It actually had a little momentum starting to build in here using our momentum bands. The color changes blue and yellow, and the blue had just pushed to the upside, so it could have easily continued on down. If it did, you can take it here at the break, but I would rather, my favorite trade setup is the retracement if I get that, because I've got such less exposure. And it's a highly expected turn, and that's exactly what happened. It went a little lower, a couple of bars lower, so it went down about 12 more ticks, so about 3 points, a little more than that, and it actually held this line. This is what we hope for to get this retracement. The bearish cloud is developing over on the right-hand side, and now we've come back into the bottom of our current cloud, as well as the yellow dotted line indicates the level of the right side cloud out here. So this is the exact setup we're looking for. With our anticipation is for this to roll back over. Some of our traders actually like to anticipate this, watch a smaller tick chart on like a 4-tick setting, and get a little movement up here, consolidation, or even bring in a 1-minute chart as well and watch what's going on in reference to this line. Now, these lines are marked out on the chart. They're yellow and blue and so forth, so you can see the exact level of what that was, and it was 3001.38, so .25, and they'll actually trade that off of this and enter this much earlier than we did on this video. We're going to look over at our bigger trend chart, which has bigger candles, and see an item that actually was involved in the reason this bounced here. Part of it was this little cloud level here. But back on our bigger time frame chart, we have come into this little pink line, which is the line that represents this line back here behind us. This is a support area. You can see where it held here earlier, and now we're back in that exact area, and we're getting this little tiny bounce. So we're hoping to get the bounce, and we did. It ran up about 4 candles here, so about another 12 ticks back up and right into our level. Now, it did exceed it slightly by 2 or 3 ticks, and this is what we're playing off of. So now we've got our reversal bar coming into play here, and our ATS Algo Bar is revealing that reversal bar to us, and we're scanning for this. If we're not already looking at this, if you're on a stock trader and you're looking at multiple symbols, you can pick this up on the scanner when the reversal occurs. Now notice we brought in our bar chart trader. This is exclusive to the Active Trader Setups trading package. We spent over 4 months developing this. It can scale you out. It can control your trades and manage your trades and enter your trades. We have it programmed for the short trail, which will be the reversal bar. We know what it takes to create that reversal bar. We have that programmed in these buttons, and it's works on any time frame you set these candles on. And then we have a stable, another way to enter it. We'll talk about that in another video, but this is the quickest entry is this trail, and you can trail this all the way up, anticipating that reversal. It'll start it here, move it up, move it up, move it up, and then create it. And then you can trail your stops. We have 2 different bars, button settings for that, so you can tighten up on the fly and then revert back to a wider stop as well. You can use a hard stop that is set against the low of the bar, the pivot of the high or the low, and you can also program your own hard stop in that for ever how many number of ticks you want to, which will override this setting of looking at the last pivot to create the stop. It also, you can set a profit target with a trail, or you can scale out. Also, is the way the scale works. It has 3 different levels you can use if you wish to, and you can start with a hard stop, and when you reach scale number 1, revert away from that and turn over to a trailing stop. It's a real powerful management tool here. So we've got our retracement, and we're ready to set our order. We can set it anywhere up through here. It may not have gone this far, so you can set it on the way up. Say, if this reverses, I want to be short. That way you don't have to be staring at it. Also, if it reverts in a quick fashion, you're in the trade and not wishing you were in it 8 or 10 ticks ago. Now, you could also take this trade manually with the standard chart trader buttons from NinjaTrader and use our trailing bars as your strategy rather than an ATM strategy. Note our ATS chart trader is the additional buttons down below the standard settings on the NinjaTrader Bar Chart Trader. This is an added indicator, comes in our charting package, and it's customizable and programmable. These buttons, you can set them anywhere you want to. You can name them anything you want to name them so that you understand what you created. We have them optimized for the bars, and we can teach you how to modify, but also give you some warnings about what's probably not going to work, which you can simulate trade and test those as well. So if you went right here to a trailing short, your short would be 3 bars back. So it starts out here. When the next bar appears, it moves the trailing stop up. The short order trails higher on each upward bar of price action. So when the next bar opened, we moved up even tighter on our stop. It continued to move. Now understand, when this bar opened, it looked just like these other bars. It was a big green bar formed here. As it developed into the reversal bar, so first it looked like this, and the trailing short order moved up a level. And we know that when we close this bar and the next bar opens to the right side, that we've triggered the reversal order, and that's when the order will trigger the entry. And that's the part we have optimized already in the templates that are applied to this indicator. We know that we've got to take out the low of this bar within a tick or two. It may be a tick above or a tick below. It's based on how far we advance at the top as well. We create and close the bar. We know that has to happen, and that's why we can program these to be point on. So you can see we've got this also already set to a 3-bar trail, which means it's going to go back and put this stop up here. And actually the stop will be the same regardless of which you used at this point in time. You could also select the hard stop through one of two ways. This button is programmed to go back to the pivot high or pivot low, whichever the case may be, and it has an extra tick added that it has to go above that high to stop you out. You can program that to 2 ticks above the pivot high, 3 ticks above the pivot high, whatever you want to program in there. Or you have the ability to also say, no, I just want a hard stop and I want it 12 ticks off my entry. Either one you can do, and this button controls that. And this slide just further explains that. You can set the trader stop button, programmable. Like I said, it's preset 2 ticks above the pivot high, and you can modify that if you wish to, or override that with a hard stop and set the exact number of ticks you want on every trade. So we're about to trigger our entry on the close of this bar and the open of the next bar. So we've now triggered our entry. Our short entry is triggered here at the level around 29.97. When this bar appeared, our order triggered and was sent, and our short position was taken. Now we've got it set to a 3-bar trail. It's 2 ticks above, so it's going to put it up here. Or you set it, if you're scaling out, you have a stop, and then you have the option to modify that stop manually, or you have another option you can select at the first scale out to move your stop to a trailing stop from that point going forward. And the trailing stop that it chooses is the lower bar. So as you program, whatever you have programmed here, that will become your trailing stop if you select to switch from a hard stop to a trailing stop at the first scale out position. So this is the early part of the trade entry on the open of this bar. We have our stop up above, 2 ticks above the wick high, which we like because it's well above the cloud level line that we're trading the setup off of. Remember, this is at 3001. Actually, the yellow line is actually at 3001.38. We looked at that earlier, so .25. And the high on this next bar, remember we were right here when we entered. When we start our next bar opens, it goes back. It gets a little choppy here and actually goes back and retests this line. It printed 3001.00. Our line, like I said, is at 38, so we got it at quarter. And we had our stop, of course, up here 2 ticks above this line, which was well out of the way, about 4 or 5 more ticks from where we are now. We still haven't trailed down because we haven't reached our next bar yet. So our management tool is designed to keep you in the trade unless you get the completed reversal bar. This did not close a reversal bar and create another candle. Now it could have. It could have turned around and went to a green candle and back up. It would have gone. It probably would have failed again. Also remember, on our bigger trend cloud that we looked at earlier, we have gone through the trend shift pivot zone. It's turned from green to red. It's favoring the downside. We teach in our projection charting videos about these retracements that you can look to anticipate at times. And here you see it went out and bounced off this level, which was right back here. It was this cloud level. And the right side cloud exactly is where this bounced, and we've gone back and done this retracement. This line, this is part of why we got all this consolidation going on here. But we've shifted into a downtrend here. Our shorter term chart is supporting the short setup as well. So back on the chart, we're actually trading. We did hold our line. We turned back over and got our next downward candle. I'm going to give another demonstration, a little bit of what else you can do with this bar. Notice we've got this labeled in the template to show at the top. This is a scale out futures chart trader, and you can label those so that you know what you have in case you're using this with two different settings. Now, if you actually got in the trade and had a scale out set up and were managing that trade with that, and you wanted to switch it over to a hard stop, manage it, you could do that as well. Now the scale outs, first of all, you can move anywhere you want to on the chart. A lot of strategy traders in NinjaTrader and other products, when you set those scale outs and you try to move those orders, they go right back to where they were programmed to be. We built this to work around that. You can move the scale outs anywhere you want to move them, and they will stay there. So you get your orders sent out as you have them in your preferences, but if you want, say your scale out is down here and you want to move it back up to this line, you move it, it will stay. You can move your scale outs, you can adjust your stops. They do not revert back to the original settings on the next tick like many strategies do. This is completely customizable by you, and that's why we built this. It took months and months and months to build and test this bar so that we can be in control of the strategy, not the strategy in control of what we're doing. So I've switched this to a different template. It doesn't say scale out anymore, and I changed it to a 10 scale out template. It's still on a 6-tick bar, so it's going to manage off that bar. But I mainly wanted to do that to show you what you can do here. Instead of having a 3-bar trail, we can have a 2-bar trail, which would adjust it to here. But if you want to tighten up your stop as this moves, you simply can click the current bar trail that is programmed into this. It will come down on top of this bar to the setting that you have it programmed ever how many ticks above the top of that bar. So you can tighten that stop up on the fly just by clicking that button. It'll move that stop down. You can unclick the button, and then as it continues down, it will go back to a 2-bar trail. You can also, without clicking this button, take your trailing stop and tighten it up. It will not instantly move back away from you to the programmable part of the button. It will stay where you place it. As the bars continue to go down, then it will revert back to the trailing stop that's programmed into it. But you can manually move it, and it will not move itself back. So what happens when you click the current trail bar, it tightens it up instantly for you. Then you can unclick the current trail bar, and it will stay where it was moved by the previous action, and then revert back as I mentioned before. So note as we tightened it up, we are on the bar just past that wick bar. As we continue down, it reverted back to the 2-bar trail back here. And now note, when this next bar appeared, if we'd have kept it on the current bar trail, we would have stopped out. It gave a little movement off this near this VPOC line here. It gave a little resistance and put a little wick in the top there, and you would have stopped out had you kept it on the current bar trail. So we're trailing 2 bars because we don't want to stop out. We want to ride this trade because it's set up so well on the charts. We're gaining momentum. We've gone back to our blue, coming back in toward the bottom, moving down. So now we've progressed 2 more bars down in the progression past the wick bar we were looking at, and you see we had another little wick bar form here. So again, if you were using the current trail, you're going to stop yourself out. So we're still trailing 2 bars back. We know 2 bars back is what it takes to make a reversal bar. Now look what's going on our bigger trend chart. We've turned this, still moving down. We've moved all the way down, but now we're at the bottom of this bigger cloud over here. The thicker it is, the more the resistance or support in this case. And it's 29.92 is this level. The 29.9150 is actually the level of the lower bar. This current thicker yellow line is the value of this cloud that we're currently on. The dotted line represents the right side cloud's current value. But we've gone all the way down and we've tested this line. This is the longer trend chart. It's labeled for you. We've got a bigger support area around the 91.50 area. Could cause that upper wick we just saw in that smaller candle. This is a little bigger candle. It's a 10-tick candle. So what was going on in this candle was likely because we were at that support area. It was trying to work its way through. Now we've got another candle further down. Our 2-bar trail is now moved down from here to here, and we've got another strong bar building. We're getting near to our target level. This was previous day's VPOC, and we're on our 2-bar trailing stop. Remember, it's right here. We're riding down. If you were scaling out, you had the option to switch the hard stop to a 2-bar trail at the first scale out order, as I mentioned before, and it would automatically do that at the time if that was your settings. So now our stop is on top of that wick bar. We continue down another bar and we advance our trailing stop down even closer. Again, another bar down, and our trailing stop is still advancing. We're almost to target. And now the target has been reached. We managed to keep ourselves in this trade to maximize our profits using our wick bars and our bar chart trader to control this trade, and also to give you confidence that you're staying in the trade. And now you've moved into your target area, which is a 14-point trade from where this started here. You could have taken it even higher if you wanted to enter early, especially you'd have had your stop up here. One thing I recommend, especially if you're entering early, on a smaller bar, you want to use a hard stop, which would still place it up here on that smaller bar. But those smaller bars are going to make these little gyrations with green and red bars. You do not want to be trailing this too small a bar because you're going to get stopped out every time. Learn to trade this instead of scalping a point and a half, 2 points. Learn to see what's setting up with the cloud telling you what's indicated, and as long as it's in your favor and you've got the momentum to the downside and your bar trader is keeping you in the trade. Now, if you don't have a premium account with NinjaTrader to trade directly from the platform, you could also use this as you manually trade through your broker. You can set the short trail or long trails. It'll put the price right on the chart where that trigger is going to take place. As it advances, you can still see it move up. You can adjust your orders accordingly at your broker, and then as these trailing stops continue down, they will be marked and show you exactly where to continue to adjust your trade. And a lot of times with some of these brokers, you can actually set your trailing stop over there to almost mimic what we're doing here on our bar. We're going to take a look back at that longer trend chart, but remember this is part of the Active Trader Setups trading package. You can find out more about that at activetradersetups.com. We have features, educational video links from there over to the YouTube channel, as well as a lot of other information and part of the chart setups and the scanners with registration page you can find here, as well as over here. We have a contact form for general questions, as well as a tradermembers.com is our traders area that we post things that they may need to know in the members area. But a lot of this part of this website, even if you're not a member, is available to the public to look at more detailed videos. And you can go to the products page. We have stock charts, as well as the future charts are being built right now. That will be the tutorial system, just like this. It will have each chart we have with a tutorial video about everything that's in that chart and how to recreate it even if you needed to, as well as information about the scanners that are pointed at the setups on that particular chart. Now, like I said, this is the stock trader page. The futures references are being built now. There's your clouds coming in and so forth. And it tells you all about the charts and so forth. That's tradermembers.com and activetradersetups.com with your futures trading, your VPOC setups, and your ATS chart trader. ActiveTraderSetups.com is a day trader setups company. We have our bar chart trader, your semi-automatic trading you've looked at here in this video. As well as on our stocks, we have our ATS Inflection Point Charts. It's a trader's top choice indicator. Just want to bring to your attention on that longer term chart we've been looking at. We have these arrows that are key level markers. They're not there in green and red to say take a reversal here. They're there to bring your attention to this level that could indeed create a reversal. And if you were coming back up into this line from the bottom, it would be a red arrow. But if you notice, this lower green arrow doesn't seem to be pointing to anything. That's because this chart and that indicator that marks as key level markers actually marks an even bigger trend cloud at the same time on this chart so that you're aware of what's going on the bigger picture. So as we're referencing this chart, you can see, for instance, this green arrow and this red arrow are not pointing at anything. This was not pointing at anything. We did have a red marker up here. If you'll notice when we came in, we also have a pink line on these charts, on this long-term chart. It's going back, referencing this cloud level back behind us. And you can see how as this ran up, it did a flag pattern in the cloud, then broke out. That's another setup in itself. But when it got up here like it was breaking out, it ran into this wall, and that was that old cloud level. And then it reverted, bounced off the cloud again on the big trend chart. This was what we looked at earlier. And then it worked its way around. And these are the anticipated patterns, and we teach those, and then you trade accordingly to the setups that present themselves. But this marker, what is it marking down here? It's marking an even bigger trend chart that goes back even further in time. We have a VL and a VLST. The ST stands for swing trade, for a longer setup. So as we sold off in this trade we've been in, that green arrow we were seeing on that other chart is telling us about this pink line down here that's going back and referencing this area of this cloud before. That is support, can be a support level. This will probably revert back up in this area and then revert back down again. It's another look back at the other chart showing that green line. We were just looking at this arrow that was marking the pink line on that other chart. And it also was where we had the green and red back behind us was marking this line as this was taking place. Back here, we didn't have that, remember. So on the left side of this super big trend chart, You can see it's been working its way between these levels and held here and gave this run up. And you can see this twist I'm telling you about. What's going on over here shows up on your chart here when that's happening, and you can see it's now favoring a more of a downtrend. So now you can see how the bigger trend chart has shown us what was about to happen with our trend shift and our cloud over here going bearish, and then we took our smaller trend chart and looked for that setup to complement what we were being told in the bigger trend. We got this big sell-off. Can also see that we exited at the right time, right into with our target plan. We didn't give back any profit on the trailing stop we had set. We would have stopped out, but we took a target price and was able to retain those couple of points that we would have given back on this reversal. It's much better to have a target, which I know most of the futures traders already know, but for beginners, you're going to retain about 30% more of the profits you had made if you will target yourself out and not wait on a reversal bar to stop you out. Now, this is what happened. This was right near the closing bell, and after hours, in the after-hour session between 4:30 and 5, the market took another 15-point plunge. Remember, the setups that was featured on this video applies to any instruments, crude oil, futures, NQ, ES, RTY, any stocks, any ATR. You just set up the candle size to match a lower ATR stock, and then you're ready to scan for that. You can swing trade with this, multi-day moves, or you can day trade with it. So our trading and training series, futures ES 14-point move, that was preceded with a cloud twist on the right-hand side, followed by a flag pattern back to the cloud that allowed us to trade this setup. One of our most popular setups is the retracement after the twist. This video is brought to you by Active Trader Setups Trading Package, a day trader setups company.